Hi everyone, Liz Klimek here, Planetarium Manager at the South Carolina State Museum. Well, first off, I'd like to wish everybody an early Pi Day. Not pi as in the dessert, but pi as in the number. 3.14159,265. Or at least that's as many digits as I care to memorize. If you're really nerdy like me, every year on March 14th, that's 3-14 if you write your date as month, day, year. Every year on March 14th, we like to celebrate the number pi by, well, eating pie. I mean, the words sound the same and they both have to do with round things, so they totally go together. Although I suppose you could celebrate Pi Day not just with a dessert pie, but really any round food item, such as a pizza. That's a kind of savory pie after all. Or maybe a quiche, cookies, a cake. Hey, you know what? March 14th is also Albert Einstein's birthday, so why not have pie and cake? If that doesn't sound like a sensible, rational thing to do, don't worry about it because pi is an irrational number. But the idea is, before you eat your round food item of choice, to take a couple of measurements first. It's all part of the fun. So take your round object and first measure the distance around, or the circumference. So go all the way around once, and then also measure the distance across from one end to the direct opposite end, and that's the diameter. And if you divide those two quantities, so divide the circumference or distance around, divide that by the distance across or the diameter, you should get, or see how close to the value of pi you get. Because that's what pi really is, not just for dessert pies or pizza pies, but for any circle. If you divide the circumference by the diameter, you should get this constant. And it's a constant without end. It goes on forever. After that 3.14159,265, without end, never repeating. That's what an irrational number is. Pi has been calculated out to trillions of decimal places, which I don't really understand why. Knowing pi out to 8 decimal places has always been more than enough for me. Going out to trillions of decimal places is a whole other level of pi obsession that I just don't understand. But there you go. So why pi? Well, pi is important in all areas of science, but it's also very important in astronomy and astrophysics, which involve a lot of round or roundish things. Stars, planets, moons, clusters of stars, galaxies, black holes, orbits. Pi helps scientists calculate things like not just the circumference, but also things like surface area and volume. And those quantities can help us figure out what something is made of or how much energy a planet is receiving or reflecting from its parent star, for example. Pi shows up in Kepler's laws of planetary motion, which describe how planets orbit stars or how satellites orbit planets. Pi also shows up in Einstein's field equations for the general theory of relativity, which describes how the curvature of space-time depends on energy and matter in the universe. So as I said, pi shows up in a lot of places. But what else is happening besides Pi Day in the near future? Well, on March 20th, we have the equinox. So for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to be the official start of spring. And for those in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be the official start of fall or autumn. And whenever the seasons change, I like to take the opportunity to remind everybody that the seasons change not because of the distance between the Earth and the Sun, which is a very common misconception, but because of Earth's tilt. So the Earth is tipped over on its side about 23.5 degrees. It maintains that tilt as it orbits the sun. And that just means that sometimes one hemisphere is kind of tipped more towards the sun than the other hemisphere. And the hemisphere that's tipped more towards the sun gets summer. The hemisphere tipped away from the sun gets fall or winter. And then during the equinoxes, neither hemisphere is pointed towards or away from the sun, and then you get the spring or the fall equinox. So that's what's happening. But what does that mean for evening sky observing? Well, let me get my two pies out of the sky so we can check out what the evening sky looks like this upcoming Sunday, March 14th at 8:30 p.m. If it seems like we're starting a little bit later than usual, that is because daylight savings time also starts this weekend. So for those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, sunset's getting later and later, and will continue to do so as we head towards summer, and daylight savings time is going to add another hour on top of that. So this is the view this Sunday the 14th at 8:30 p.m. looking directly south from Columbia, South Carolina. And what we have in front of us is still much of the winter sky. We have the very popular Orion the Hunter. And here's an idea of what he might look like. Hanging out with his two hunting dogs, Canis Major, the big dog, and Canis Minor, the little dog. They are facing down Taurus the bull, high towards the southwest. And what's really nice in this part of the sky right now is if you look towards Taurus the bull, right here is the red planet Mars. And it happens to lie almost directly between two star clusters. So the face of Taurus the bull is made up of these stars right here, which are part of the Hyades star cluster. And then this star called Aldebaran, this bright orangish reddish one, is not part of that star cluster, but just kind of lies in this direction and completes that V shape so well. Let me zoom in a little bit more so hopefully you can see that better. So here is the Hyades star cluster right here, all the stars in the bull's face except minus this one. And then over here we have the Pleiades star cluster, which is also known as the Seven Sisters. And there's Mars, nicely placed between those two star clusters. And lots of exciting things going on Mars right now with the new Perseverance rover, or Percy for short. So definitely go check out NASA's websites for an update on what the new rover has been up to. But I'll zoom us back out. It seems like not that long ago, we were talking about Orion facing down the bull when they were in a different part of the sky. They were more towards the east. And here we are, not that long after sunset, and they're high in the south. And if we go a month forward in time, they're going to be towards the southwest. So what we're really seeing here is the consequence of Earth orbiting the sun. As we go around the sun once every 365 days, night by night, the star patterns that we've been admiring are just inching their way towards the west. So the winter sky will slowly start to disappear as we go into the months ahead, and new star patterns will rise behind them. If we look over towards the east right now, we're going to see a little bit of the spring sky starting to appear. I'll zoom in here so that hopefully you can see something that looks like a backwards question mark tipped on its side. And this is going to be the head and heart of Leo the lion, a nice prominent spring constellation. I always like to joke that if you are more of a cat person than a dog person, spring is the perfect time for you, because Leo the lion will rise higher and higher in the sky as we go on into spring. And Orion's two hunting dogs will sink lower and lower in the southwest. But if you like dogs and cats, then this is a perfect time for you to do some stargazing, because we have both of those types of animals represented with lots of stars in the sky. Well, I hope that despite the fact that sunset is a bit later, you'll take advantage of the nicer weather and go out and enjoy the last of the winter sky and welcome in the spring sky. Maybe with some pie and cake. However you want to celebrate. This weekend is also March 14th, the International Day of Planetarians, which is very exciting for me. So a lot happening this weekend. But thank you so much for joining me here today. Don't forget that the Boeing Observatory at the State Museum does a live stream on Facebook on Saturday evenings. That date and time, however, will be changing. So be sure to check out our Facebook page or our website at scmuseum.org for more details about what's ahead. Don't forget to click below to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Definitely helps us out a lot. As always, take care of yourselves and each other, and I hope to see you back here next time.